Hey Fishtube, Steven here. But this video is not really about me. In a lot of ways, it's about all of us. There's a really fantastic new video series making the rounds. It's called Simple Fishkeeping, where viewers can get multiple perspectives from Fishtubers on a simple question about, obviously, fish keeping. And I've been really excited and grateful to be asked to be a part of some of these Fishtubers videos. And, well, I have questions of my own now. But my first video in this series is a little different. So we all have our various reasons for getting into this hobby in the first place, but I would wager I'm not alone in saying I'm getting something out of it that goes well beyond what I ever expected to gain from keeping some fish in a glass box. So my question this week was simply, what has fish keeping done for your life? And the responses I got back, well, you really need to hear them. And listen, if you're familiar with my videos, you know that other than live streams, I make my videos short. I condense a crap ton of content down to something that at least appeals to my super ADD sensibilities. But this is a longer video, and it's certainly the longest besides live streams that is on my channel at this moment. Trust me, I've kept it that way for a reason. You really are gonna want to watch through the end. And there's a wide spectrum of fish keepers I featured here. I mean, we've got the fairly new hobbyists, some very young people, but then there's also the seasoned veterans, very successful business owners that you'll recognize. But regardless of all these different backgrounds, I know personally I can relate to every single one of them because fish keeping has changed my life. Once you finish the video, I'd really love to hear from you as well. Leave a comment and tell me your story. What has fish keeping done for your life? Here we go.
What has the aquarium hobby done for me? Well, other than making me a household name, unfathomably rich, famous on YouTube for my fish antics, it's hard to list all the things fish have done for me. But if I was going to start, well, I'd introduce myself. I'm Alex Williamson from The Secret History, living in your aquarium. And fish have done a lot for me. Fish have given me a high-tech playground to learn botany, chemistry, biology, and to just unwind and watch beautiful creatures in a relaxing environment right in my own living room. Hey guys. Also, on the other end, it's given me an artistic outlet. I was struck by lightning 3 years ago, and I lost my ability to paint with my hand-eye coordination for over a year. I couldn't even write words and letters, and aquascaping became my form of an outlet because I was a professional painter and artist for a living. So using tissue cultures and scissors and my own hands and tucking things in and deciding what colors go where and what rocks go where with which plants, it all gave me an amazing relief when I really felt like I had lost everything. Beyond what having these tanks has done for me emotionally in the learning process, it's also just kept me busy. I mean, always coming up with new combinations of which fish are going to work in which environments with which other fish or which plants, and I always try to make them as comfortable as possible, and I kind of mark how well they're doing by if they are able to reproduce in their little environment that I've set up for them, or if they look their best as according to what I've seen on the internet and other places for their peak health. And ultimately, fish have given me a sense of control. And I've had many times in my life that were very chaotic, from my injuries to chronic pain to PTSD and addiction. And having little creatures that count on me every day, sometimes multiple times a day, to survive is just an incredible feeling. It makes me think outside of myself and want to make the world a better place. It may start with just needing to get up in the morning and work on one little tank, but soon it starts to spread to wanting to preserve the environment they come from and wanting to get to know all the people involved with that, as well as other people who feel the same way about this hobby. And it's a good way for me to introspectively spend time at home, but then be an extrovert when I go out and talk with other people involved in conservation and the hobby and education. And really, there's nothing quite like it in hobbies that I've ever undertaken. So that's what fish keeping has done for me.
What up, fish people? Kenny E with DaniKen Aquatics. So tonight I was asked the question, what has fish keeping done for you in your life? You can talk about whatever. But anyway, what it's done for me, it is amazing. The fish put me in my happy place, first off. I mean, if nothing else, the fish do it for me. Just being able to be in front of a fish tank makes me in my happy place. However, what it has done for me also is I've made some amazing relationships with people. Absolutely, that has got to be the top of the list, is the people I've met and the people I've done things with. I mean, I can never take it back. My trip across America was one of the most amazing times of my life. I got to go in and meet everybody and then also film their fish rooms. I was in my happy place. I mean, that was one of the most amazing times of my life. Financially speaking, it drains me more than it makes me. I'll put it like that. But it's a good kind of drain. I mean, I get to look at all these beautiful fish. When you keep almost close to 80 tanks, you're going to pay some money to keep them. You know what I mean? But the end result is amazing. You can't explain it. I mean, it's just awesome.
Fish keeping for me in my life, I think has been different than the average person. Obviously, I make my living off of it, and I'm very grateful for it. But it wasn't always that way. In fact, I didn't keep fish till I was in my early 20s. And so before that, I didn't really appreciate nature. I mean, I did, but having animals growing up, breeding rats and having dogs and things like that, it was fine. But it was when I started breeding fish that I really kind of got intrigued by nature in the world. And really what that led to is a different thinking process for me. Traditionally, I was always research a problem, learn about the answer, deploy the answer. And fish keeping has taught me so much that the answer sometimes has to be experienced. And so breeding different fish and keeping fish, that happens often. You can read parameters and things like that and your fish won't do what you need them to do. But as you experience disease, you experience different pH swings and what makes fish happy, that I think is a very big learning part of nature and life. And that translates to my normal life. If I now, I have more respect for nature, I like to learn, I like to look at that bug on the grass, I like to think about things in a different way. So instead of just thinking, I wonder what the answer to that is, I now think, I wonder how I could figure out the answer to that question on my own, and then compare the results to, is that what other people are getting? And knowing that my results, even if they differ, aren't wrong, but now I have an experience I can draw upon instead of a fact I've learned or something like that. So it's really changed just the way I live my life, and unfortunately I question everything now and kind of have to experience myself, but it does let me be an independent thinker, and I do cherish that, so I thank fish keeping for that.
What has fish keeping done for your life? So for me, it has freed up it has consumed my free time in a good way. Instead of sitting around and watching TikTok most of the time, I can do water changes and feed fish and keep myself really occupied. And also, I've been able to meet a lot of new people and make a bunch of new friends, not just locally, but also across the screen, virtually. And because of that opportunity to meet all the new people that I have met, I've gotten into several different species of fish that I would have never known even existed if it wasn't for those people. And I have gotten a lot of responsibilities. Well, I have obtained a lot of responsibility because there are live fish and live animals that depend on me to feed them and take care of them and whatnot. And then also my mother and I have been able to start a business with this fish keeping / worm keeping hobby. So that is what fish keeping has done for my life.
Hello everybody, it's Skipper from Skipper's Aquariums. There's a question that's being asked. What has the fish hobby done for you in your life? Well, for me, being in the military and having, unfortunately the PTSD and stuff like that, it has helped me with this, being stress-free and stuff like that. Also, part of this fish hobby has brought me to meet a bunch of awesome people. And that's what it's done for me. I'll keep it pretty simple for you. So everybody have a good day. Thank you.
So what has the fish keeping hobby, or just fish keeping in general, done for my life? Well, a lot. I suffer from social anxiety, like I'm sure most people do, and this hobby and the community in general have helped me overcome that for the most part. Like big crowds and tight spaces I could not do before. I could do them, I would just get super anxious. Since I went to my first big event in this hobby, I've been decently okay with big events. It's also just done wonders for stress and depression in general. Like, I'm pretty sure that at one point there was a study that said looking at a fish tank is very therapeutical, can help with a bunch of different things. So it's definitely helped me in that regard as well. It's helped me a little bit financially. I was selling fish for a little while there, recouped my money that I spent on setting up the guppy colony. And it just got to be too much at one point with, UPS shipping and stuff, so I stopped that. But it helped me financially too. Physically, it's helped me a little bit because water changes. I still use 5-gallon buckets, so filling those up when I do water changes and lugging them across the hall and dumping them and filling them up, so it helps that way as well.
What's cracking, YouTube? It's me, the Biz, FishyBizzAquatics, professional aquatics with the amateur touch, so amateurs, yep. And Stephen P wants to know what fish keeping has done for my life. Well, it has provided a sense of calm, okay? In an otherwise turmoil lifestyle. I have a lot going on, especially at this point in time right now. And if it wasn't for fish tanks and at least fish keeping, I would probably would have found something else, but nothing that as easy as having tanks in my house and having a community that I can upload videos to that will kind of help and support the love of fish and some commonality. I think that's what it is the commonality, and it's the overall community in general. Sometimes some people just need a release, and for me that's what fish keeping is. It's a release from the everyday norm, the everyday stress, the everyday routine, and a chance for me to be creative, let off a little steam, and at the same time enjoy some beautiful animals in their underwater homes. So that's what fish keeping means to me. All right.
What has fish keeping done for my life? So I'll be frank, I've had a lot of reasons for fish keeping to be appreciated in my life. I started in the hobby when I was about 10 or 11 years old. In high school, my class was the first class at our school to start doing what they called a senior project, which was to do a whole presentation on something that you would want to be when you grew up, something that you'd want to do. And I wanted to do my senior project on owning and operating an aquarium store, a fish store. And I know, my entire life I've wanted to own and operate a fish store. I never followed the dream, and now I'm finally, at 48 years old, decided that I'm going to follow that dream. So it has helped me with, I've always wanted to do it. It's helped me with my social anxiety disorder. I have a difficulty being around large groups of people, and well, if it weren't for the hobby, I wouldn't be able to go to places like Aqua Shell, an aquatic experience, and Fishtoberfest here in Portland. There's just no way I would have panic attacks and I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I really do appreciate that. And the people in this hobby are so welcoming in most parts. So I really do. I love the people in the hobby. I love the fish themselves, of course. And I love the community around this hobby.
What has fish keeping meant to my life? Well, since I was a little kid, my dad got me into fish keeping. So it started off as a thing that I was able to relate with my father and hang out with him and share as I grew up in the hobby and with, just in my childhood. And I always loved fish. There's never been a time in my life I didn't. In the last couple of years, I had a major accident. I've always been into sports and things like that, and I can't do sports anymore because of my accident. So I have thrown everything pretty much into fish keeping, and now I have a lot more tanks than I've ever had before. But it's so much fun because it gives me something to do when I can't do other stuff. So that's great. And then the addition to finding YouTube, because I had to move from my old house in Missouri down to Chattanooga when I hurt myself. And so I also didn't have any friends here because, I'm brand new to a new area. And it's been really neat because I've got to meet so many awesome people on YouTube. I have so many friends. It's awesome. I really enjoy it so much. So fish they're just not little guys that swim in a glass box, but they're also a way for us to be able to get out and hang out with people and socialize and have a life. So thank you, fishies. And thank you, Stephen P., for asking what they've done for me.
What has fish keeping done for your life? Lots of things over lots of different stages of my life. I started when I was in junior high school, and at that time, while all the other kids were trying to figure out who they were and form an identity, I kind of knew I was a fish keeper. So I would say as a youngin', it gave me some kind of identity, something of like, something to base myself on a little bit. And I think it probably kept me out of drugs and a lot of other issues that a lot of my friends struggled with, just because I had something. I was like, yeah, I'm a fish keeper. I'm a fish nerd. Like, that's who I was. And I was good with that. Then later on, as I got into college and started in the workforce, it became a stress relief. It became like something to do to relax me, calm my heart rate, a way to get in touch with nature and things, and kind of just chill out and get back in touch with something I loved after a stressful day or stressful week at work or studying or writing papers for college or whatever it was during kind of college and early career. And now, of course, it's what I do for a living. So now it's something I enjoy getting up and doing every day. And it's also how I support myself and my family. So over the years, it's done lots for me. I've been doing this for about 30 years, just a little under 30 years. And at each stage of my life, it's had an important impact. So, I don't know if it's something everyone needs to base their life on, but for me, it's been a good thing.
What has fish keeping done to your life? That's me in the case of your, but you could think about it in the same way yourself. A lot of things. I think the biggest thing is when I got back into fish keeping, it was in a moment of a lot of stress. I was unemployed. I had recently completed a 4-year contract in Microsoft. I'm a homeowner at the time, and I'm sitting there looking for a new job at like the worst time of year to be looking for a job as far as my profession is concerned, the holidays. October through really February, it can be very rough to find work in my line of work, which is the software and profession in general. And I'd been cruising YouTube and I found this thing, and I remembered back to when I was a kid and how I just watched fish tanks and just feel at peace. And I wanted that in my life again. And that's the primary reason I got back into fish keeping, is I wanted that peace of when I just sat and watched fish and spaced out for a bit. Now, after that, as I came back in, it taught me an appreciation for a number of things: nature, horticulture, conservation. In many cases, I'm looking at how some of the habitats of the things that I now love very deeply are being destroyed, and trying to find ways to protect them, or what things in this world impact those habitats severely. It's taught me a ton. It's given me an appreciation for things that I don't think I would have appreciated before. It's given me an opportunity to reach out to a community of people who are wonderful friends, the fish family, right? And, things like YouTube. And some might think, oh, it's probably brought you some financial success. Actually, it probably cost me a lot more money than I've ever made, but that's not the part that matters, right? All hobbies have a cost, and fish keeping has one that has immense rewards and payoffs, especially when it comes to peace of mind. I've had a number of friends and family members who suffer from all sorts of mental health issues, whether it's depression, anxiety, in some cases autism, with some members of kind of my distant relatives, and sitting and staring at a fish tank just helps them a ton. And there's been a lot of people in my life that have gotten back into fish or taken an interest in fish because I got into fish. And I'll rant and rave about how much I love them and how much I can just sit and relax and watch my fish swim, and I just feel good. It just relaxes me. And now that I work in a fairly high-stress career, that's what they do best. Relax me. Stay awesome.
Hi, I'm Carrie with ScienceGal Aquatics, and today I've been asked to help with the question, what has fish keeping done for your life? And honestly, I can't think of a single aspect of my life that has not been fully affected by this hobby and keeping aquariums. I have a huge problem with anxiety, and sometimes whether it's coming down here and doing a water change or just watching all the fish in the aquarium, sometimes I just need a moment to get out of my head and just watch a tank for whether it's just a small amount of time or a quite a bit of time, whatever it takes. It really does help with calming that anxiety that's going on. And not only that, but being a part of this community and being able to be introduced and go up to people that I admire, that's very difficult for me. So just being a part of this community has just given me a confidence that I really needed help finding, and having a purpose that when times are down and I'm feeling a little hard on myself, sometimes I just need that push and that purpose to go do something fun and get out of my head. And growing up and having tanks with my dad, having fish tanks and going to the fish store and caring for them sometimes has been some of the best memories growing up with my dad. And hopefully I get to pass that down to my kids someday. So just overall, I am so thankful for having the opportunity to have fish tanks for my whole life and being introduced to all the cool people here that's part of the fish fam. I'm just so thankful for aquariums, and I'm just there's not any one aspect that's just specifically affected, because they just affect my everyday life and my everyday world. And I'm just so thankful for being able to keep aquariums.
So the question today is, what has fish keeping done for your life? And fish keeping has improved my quality of life tenfold. I'm a big outdoors guy. I was a huge outdoors guy. Nature was everything. Kayaking, my favorite thing in the whole world. Seriously. Camping, hiking, all of that stuff. It was always what I did with my spare time. It's who I was. But I have health issues that don't allow me to do those things very much anymore. I don't get out there like I used to. So I brought it indoors. I mean, look around. I brought it in with me. Fish keeping is a big part of that. Just being able to have nature inside with me, being able to take care of the fish and the plants and learning about them has given me focus and purpose. I'm a retired person too, so I do have time on my hands, and it does help fill some of that time. It's not just the fish keeping though, it really isn't. It's the group. Fish keeping is fine as a solo activity, it really is. But it's so much better when you join a group. Your local fish club. If you have one, try and join it. If you don't, hang out here with the Fishfam. It's an amazing group of people, and it's taken my love of fish keeping to another level because I have people to share with. I have people that understand. I have people that I can bounce ideas off of or ask questions of. So fish keeping and Fishtube go hand in hand for me. They both have really increased my quality of life a lot. And not just having the tanks in here and dealing with them, but any anxiety issues or depression issues for me, I can sit in front of the tank. I have a chair right here, pointing at that tank right there. I can sit in that chair for an hour and just watch that tank, and a lot of my anxiety issues or depression issues go away. So fish keeping has been a boon to me both mentally and physically. Again, it's made my life better. Since I can't go out to nature, I bring it inside.
Hello everyone. I got a question that was asked to me about what has the hobby done for me. Well, for starters, the hobby's done a lot for me. I mean, it has taught me a lot of patience. It has allowed me to meet a lot of fantastic people that I never even knew existed. I mean, it just brings me joy and peace, and there's just something about having nature indoors. I mean, it's hard to describe it, because it's done so much for me. So, and I just highly recommend anyone who has not yet got that experience to just at least try it, But yeah, the hobby's done a lot for me, and I'm very grateful of it.
So what has fish keeping done for my life? Well, I think the biggest thing and the first thing that I want to mention is that it has allowed me to connect with all of you all, not just to share my experiences and become a part of this amazing community, but also that community has helped me a lot. And now fish keeping as a hobby, without the YouTube aspect and the community aspect, it's been a part of my life since I was a child. It's allowed me to take on new challenges with different breeding projects and a lot of different things to overall become a better fish keeper. But honestly, all of those things led up to me being able to help other people, which in turn brought me onto YouTube. And if it wasn't for this amazing community, I know things would be a lot different in my life. Being a fish keeper on YouTube has afforded me a lot of opportunities to do things that I never thought were possible. It's given me a completely different life than I ever would have imagined. From the community aspect to helping me deal with depression. Fish keeping has made my life better in so many ways. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you all that have not only been a part of my life, but have allowed me to be a part of your life and share our experiences together through YouTube, in person, all over the country. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.
How the aquarium hobby has helped me. Some of y'all know, but some of you don't. I am a recovering addict. I was highly addicted to prescription pain medicines for a long time. It took me 20 years to get over it, and that was including losing my freedom, my family, my home, my fish room, my job, which I was a veterinary technician and a groomer. And it took me down a very dark path. And while I was gone away, when I lost my freedom, yes, I went to jail. I lost my mother during that time too, and it was absolutely devastating. So when I came out and had to start life over again, I literally started off with nothing. And you know how they tell you to find your happy place, you know, memories that bring back something joyous in your life? Well, for me, that was when I was a young girl, and my grandfather and I would always go fishing, and I would go to the minnow shop or to the bait shop and like look in the minnow wells. I love turtles, I love fish, and my grandfather eventually got me an aquarium and helped me learn how to take care of fish. At first it was just taking care of the minnows that were left over from bait, but I was so fascinated by them. It was magical and I loved it. He started taking me to pet stores, and oh my gosh, I would just stand for hours in front of those tanks. He never had to worry about me. They could drop me off at the pet store and go shopping all day long and I'd still be there. And I would always ask questions to the owner, and even at a young age, he taught me what it took to keep aquariums. Now, when I first started, I thought the main thing you did was just dechlorinate the water. That's what I thought all there was to it with aquariums. Well, anyway, long story short, later on in years, when I was 32 years old, I hurt my back. I was grooming, and that made it worse. I was breaking horses. And I also suffered from chronic kidney stones, which I still do today. And so every time I turned around, I was back in the hospital and being prescribed more and more. Well, eventually I got cut off of all that medication, which led me into basically criminal activity to keep up with what I needed to feel good or to be normal. And it finally caught up with me, and I received an indictment. I went away, but I was lucky enough to get into a substance abuse program. And the whole time I was there, I would talk to my counselor about my aquariums and my horses, and she told me as soon as I got out that I needed to get back into the aquarium hobby, that it would be absolutely the best thing possible for me. So when I got out, I ended up going to my daughter's house in Virginia, and we had a friend over one day, and she said she was going to go to Petco. I hadn't even been to a Petco. I mean, I'd been gone for years, so mentally, physically, everything. And I made the comment that I wouldn't mind having a betta, because I figured I could have a small bowl with a little fish, and at least I had a fish to take care of. And she ended up bringing me home a betta, and she brought me one of those little teeny tanks that you pour the water in, and it like water changes, it dumps out the back, and you just refill it. But while I was taking care of this fish, I fell so in love with it that I wanted to know more. And I had just found the internet, YouTube, and I ended up researching bettas, which led me to some amazing channels here on YouTube. And I won't get onto all that because that's a whole nother subject, but there were certain channels that came along, well, I'll say it, like KG Tropicals, Primetime, Creative Pet Keeping Kesha, and Simply Betta Taylor, and I was just fascinated with how these beautiful fish, how they did so much better in a big tank and a planted tank, which led me to Green Aqua, George Farmer, MD fish tanks, all that stuff. Like I said, long story short, those channels ended up bringing me into the actual Fishfam and meeting people. So my happy place has always been enjoying fish tanks and learning about fish. And something I learned this time around was how to actually keep the aquariums, how to do a planted tank, everything that I needed to know. I mean, the resources here on YouTube is just phenomenal. So I'm trying to keep this short because I could talk all day, but anyhow, during my recovery, getting this betta fish, getting into YouTube, and starting to keep aquariums again brought me back to that happy place that I had as a child. I kept turtles and fish and everything when I was little. Always went to the zoo, always researching in magazines and books. We didn't have the internet back then. And I was an only child, so I was kind of lonely. My parents believed in not being seen nor heard. I was what you call a latchkey kid, which means you spent a lot of time by yourself while your parents were working. So fish and animals were my friends. And I just can't tell you the joy it brings me to be able to keep fish again. It like reduces stress. I have anxiety, depression, and paranoia. I get really paranoid. Like I'm always thinking, oh gosh, nobody's gonna like me. Or if I introduce myself, you know, they're gonna think, oh gosh, she's one of those people. But I've always been a good person and a good girl. And so getting into this hobby again, and not only the hobby, I want to get into the Fishtube community, because I went through some hard times coming back in. You know, I dealt with a lot of guilt and shame. I had lost my family, my friends, everything. I mean, everything I owned. I had nothing but clothes on my back when I came out of jail. And one day I was just watching videos, and they said something about subscribe and liking and leave a comment, and da-da-da-da-da. And I thought, man, is that all I gotta do to keep getting this incredible content from people? So of course I started liking, I started subscribing, I started leaving comments, and I found myself, and I know y'all laugh at me, but I started leaving really long comments to creators. And I thought to myself, it doesn't matter, you know, if they think I'm nuts or whatever. It was my way of not isolating anymore. So through these comments, I ended up making a lot of good friends here on YouTube, and what's led me to being here with you guys today. This hobby has brought me so much joy and so much beauty during some really hard times over the past 2 years. But just being able to get in my fish tank, and like today, I worked on this little tank. I just rescaped it and just had a big old time. A friend of mine, Kevin, sent me this betta, and I never thought about somebody doing something like that for me. It was just incredible. So if you want to know how this hobby helps me, it helps me because it's opened my eyes to a whole new world. It's opened my heart to letting people in again and being part of something bigger than myself. It's better than any meetings or therapy, which I say let's do it because I do that kind of stuff. And I also go around and speak at jails and at different meetings, and I've also spoke with teenagers and stuff, because no matter what, no matter how bad I was, and I was the worst of the worst. I mean, basically I hate to even say the word, but a junkie, but I was. And to be able to hold my chin up and show my face and enjoy the friendships I have made while fish keeping has been just an incredible journey. It reduces my stress, it reduces my anxiety, it gets me out of depression when I'm feeling really low. Just to get in that tank and work and plant plants. And I don't have a lot of money or a lot of things right now. I mean, I'm basically living on, I don't know if you want to call it a budget, because I really don't even have a budget. But I've also suffered some illness, and I've had some health issues. But anyway, just to be able to get on here and learn about all these fish, even when I had fish previously, when I was a groomer and I worked at a pet store and I was able to set up a fish room. This was before the addiction. I still remember the day that I traded all my fish tanks off. I mean, thousands of dollars worth of stuff for $200 just to keep up with my habit. And that kind of stuff just is hard for me to accept and forgive myself for. But I can today. And I just want people to know, no matter how or what you've been through, you know, things can get better. I'm a miracle. I mean, I'm a teetotal miracle, guys. And for me to be sitting here today, sharing on Steven's awesome channel, and I'm so honored to be here. How this hobby has helped me is, it's just a miracle. That's the only way I can put it. So, you know, when you're feeling down and you just don't know what to do with yourself, keeping a fish tank, especially a planted tank, growing plants. I never knew I could grow plants. The whole hobby changed for me when they came out with LED lights. I mean, it changed everything. Like before I tried to grow plants and I was not able to. Now, they're not fancy. I mean, I've just got some swords and some Anubias and I don't know, I think there's Scarlet Temple and some Bacopa and little things like that. But to fill a tank full of those plants and just sit and watch those plants, there's nothing like it. So I hope you all enjoyed. Love y'all and keep fish keeping and love you all.